Did you really think because it was still kind of cool outside that you couldn't get out there and dig in your garden? You're wrong. Let's make our flowers into more flowers right here on the Backyard Gardens podcast, Minisode edition.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening and give the information out for you to be successful in your garden, whether it's your first or your last. We are your hosts, Ben, the backyard gardener, and
Batavia, the front yard gardener.
one in the country,
One in the city.
Now get ready as we dig deep into this wonderful world of gardening as we learn to grow and grow for change. My personal favorite.
Dividing.
Perennials.
Oh, yeah. Getting more flowers for nothing. No price.
Yeah, basically free.
Yeah.
Yep. So what we're talking about is dividing your perennials and how and when and where and what to do with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Do you have a lot of perennials?
I every year attempt to add a few more just based on the cost if I'm buying them new, but this feeds right into what we're talking about, right? What's so funny?
I love the attempt. I love just the attempt, the way you said it. I attempt to do it because I feel it. Like I feel the way that you mean it. I felt it.
Yeah. So, but every year I buy a couple from the store. I am actually, this year I started indoor some perennials. So yeah, like I'm trying to squeeze things in. I love not having to do work with them. You know, I just come out and they're blooming. But today we're going to work because we're dividing and conquering.
Yeah, well,
perennials.
First of all, I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a second and say, what perennials have you started in your house?
Oh, blanket flower is one. I have
Jealousy.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about the flower, but it's probably because of the cost, the price I always see them at. So we're going to see how they do with me starting them indoors, and maybe I'll love them, right? And then I started a bunch, and about a third, probably a quarter took, of the hibiscus. So I saved those seeds last year, and they're not easy to start, but I can actually see many have germinated. I'm going to have some perennials for hibiscus.
So is the blanket flower coming up?
Yeah. Yep. I have germination. We have germination.
We have germination, Captain. I put some out in my garden because I was like, I'm not going to start those inside. Totally should. They're like one of my favorites. So I said I wasn't going to buy any this year, but if mine don't come up, I'm probably going to buy like a couple and make a mass planting of them. Yeah. Just because I like, and in our area, they're kind of like known to be grown because of the sandy soil here. But I'm doing yarrow, salvia, and Shasta daisies are the big ones that I started.
There's one, carnations. I'm pretty sure they're perennial. That sounds right.
Yeah, I started them last year. They didn't do anything. I gave up.
Yeah, I'm not
in the game like that.
I haven't had germination yet on them, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not in that game. But anyways, let's talk about when we get our perennials and how do we know when to divide them? That's the first question. Do you know?
I don't know. I know when I go and divide them.
Well, when do you do it?
I do them, and I probably don't do them this early, which I'm glad we're putting together this episode because it will keep me more organized and timely. So my lilies are the thing that I often divide, and I only divide them because I want to move them around, right? Yeah. So it's once they've started to kind of have the greenery, but not necessarily the flower, is when I have a chance to dig them up, and then, because they're beasts for lilies. If you haven't grown them and you have a space where you want to really kind of expand that, hostas is something that I also divide. They're kind of wild too when it comes to how big they can get. So as soon as I see kind of a life in the plant, I have some active leaves is the place where I'm digging them up and dividing them.
Right. So what I look for, so it's funny, like I'd always read this and never seen it. And then last year I actually saw it. And so I knew in the middle of summer, this needs to be divided. Is I looked and I had yarrow, and it was in the middle of it was bare, but you could see an outside ring of foliage and flowers. And that was like a tall tale sign that it was time to split it.
Yeah.
So I waited until about what's the equivalent of this time of year for everybody else. You know, if it's warmer, this will be set back a little bit. If it's cooler, you can go forward a little bit in time. But I split them, and I've always split. I got started splitting daylilies because everybody would just give them for free.
Yeah,
you know, we were passing them around at my old job and stuff, and you know, it was so you just that and I don't know the correct name, but monkey grass.
No,
I think Liriope maybe is what it's called. But I grew up and my parents would have to split that all the time. And they would split it and just move it down and more. So, you know, that was my first introduction. But
yeah, the great thing about daylilies are when you're actually splitting them and like passing them around, you know, you can get much better color flowers and different flowers than maybe you could even find in the store. So it's kind of that diversity in your flower garden, right?
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of it. So, you know, and the benefit of these things too is when you split them, they grow better. Correct.
Because when you think about it, it's just like anything else we talk about. Indoor plants. It's like when we're starting seeds indoors, it's perennials in the ground can get root bound, so to speak, right? You know, so you're splitting it and giving that flower that you leave there more space to grow and kind of move around a bit. One of the things I do is I don't always split them and plant them back into the earth. Sometimes I split them and put them in containers or pots, you know, so you can do that. Absolutely. My only, the hostas that I have now are in pots, and I was looking at them like back last month, like, oh, they ain't looking good. But I know they'll be fine once the weather warms up a bit more. So
yeah, and that's the thing too, is as it gets warmer, they'll start poking up, and that's when everything's really coming to life.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
But it's interesting that they can get root bound with no pot.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand how that works. I guess it's the way the roots grow.
I don't know that I understand it, but I get it, but I don't know exactly why they just don't spread out more, you know?
Right.
But are we here to make sure we understand everything?
Well, you know what? Sometimes I like to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And there's other people that want to know too.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, you've pulled up, and so the how, right? So you want to make sure you get to, in this case, if it's in the ground, get your shovel. Make sure you're stepping back a few inches from where you can see the base of the plant. You're digging up. You want to get dirt and the actual plant itself, because you don't want to kind of stab the root if you can help it when you're trying to dig it up. And in that case, you can kind of see them all bound together. Like you can see the idea of, oh yeah, they need a little bit more room to grow. And in that instance, that's when you're kind of prying them apart, if you will. I mean, I have been aggressive and like just said, the hell with it. I'm going to just cut this thing in half, right?
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's it's like everything
bad?
else we've talked about though, but it's that plant is now wounded and it's going to take some time to heal, right? So stop harming our plants.
He grew in my yard. Grew in my yard and didn't follow the directions when I said, don't go crazy now. You stay nice and tame and we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Or, you know, another thing you can do, especially for something like you mentioned for the lilies, I mean, anything that you're going to be able to split, put it in a pot and you can give it away, right? So you were talking about like, that's what you guys were doing at work. I did start more flowers with the intention of like, you know, here's a gift. Thanks for delivering my mail. Well, maybe not exactly that. But it's a great way, again, to give a little bit of something from your garden, right? It doesn't always have to be vegetables.
And I mean, this is the time of year too. And because my street, if you go down the street, everybody has the same plants in their front yard because they're all splitting and passing them out. So I had to make a concerted effort to be like, no, I need to put something different. So I'm not like everybody else.
Yeah.
But you can find good deals on like Facebook Marketplace and stuff where people are actively splitting stuff now.
You know, I don't understand the workings of Facebook Marketplace. Perhaps we could have a one-on-one podcast so you can explain that to me.
Do you know what Craigslist is?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I think like the big one I saw was Mexican petunias. People are splitting. I don't know anything about them, so I didn't buy them. As much as I saw, I was like, these might be kind of invasive, so I don't know. But it was like $2 for a bundle.
Yeah, one thing to note, petunias, and I love when people are insistent on a thing, like people you don't know. Well, if you're listening, you know us, so you're not. That's not this. But I'm trying to figure out where I was and who it was. But long and short, they were so insistent on petunias being perennials in Chicago. And I don't not believe them, but it's so funny. They're like, no, leave them in the pot. You'll see them come back next spring, and so even non-traditional perennials, add them to your list of things that you can kind of split up, if you will, spread around. Let me know if you guys have perennials in cooler areas that are coming back. Perennials. Petunias. That's what I meant.
Petunias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure that you just say, because everyone's like, I got perennials coming back. That's what they're supposed to do.
You can still do hashtag BYG podcast for your perennials that return.
And in the words of the almighty P. Allen Smith, I just want to say, perennials are that good old friend that come back every year. They're faithful and they're loyal, and you see them every year. They smile at you. That's what a perennial is. So, thank you, P. Allen Smith, for throwing that out there. You are my hero. But it is true, and that's one, like, when we were getting the daylilies and stuff, I really got hooked on the idea of a perennial because, we took a yard with nothing in it, and we began to fill it up very fast. And people were just willing to share that much more than other things because they're like, I can't do anything with it, My
neighbor 2 doors down is exactly that. She's like, anytime you want to come over, dig them up.
Just come dig. Yeah. I mean, I got a boatload of, it's some kind of lily. I don't know what it is. And I just spread them all over my yard, because I have a lot of area. So I was able to put them down. They faithfully come up every year and they produce. So it was a no-brainer in my mind.
So my encouragement is going to be, even if it's something that, everyone on Ben's block has, if you really like it, continue to plant it, right? So
that's what I did.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so once you get them in the ground, water them and take care of them.
Yeah.
Throw a little bit of compost in the hole with it, give it a little love. And what I do is I actually go back and then I mulch over it. So I have I'll put a couple handfuls of straw over it or something just to, number one, to mark it, because you might be out there weeding and be digging up perennials like I did last week and it pissed me off. I got mad at myself. So, but I think that's, for me, that's what I do. You?
Yeah, I don't do that, but it's a good, important tip because, again, that plant, even if you didn't stab it with the shovel, it still is. There's a wound there and it wants to recover. And at this time, because we're now in mid-April, again, you still may be getting some cold weather. They'll be fine. But the more kind of swift changes to the weather, the damage you may have done when you split them, it needs to recover from that. So there's just a teeny bit of babying. I just take a look at them as you walk past. But I think mulching them is a good idea.
Yep. So there you go. Yeah. So we talked about when, how to tell, how to do it, and what to do afterwards. Did we miss any aspect of dividing perennials?
If you're in Chicago, let's talk perennial swaps.
Yeah, if you're in North Carolina, hit me up. Holla. All right, everybody. So divide your perennials this week. You're going to be happy. Your garden's going to look even better because you're going to take that little bit of beauty you had, that one little plant that cost you $10, and spread it everywhere. Tell the good people something.
See ya.
All right, everybody. Now that it's spring, we're going to do one more giveaway to get seeds in your garden, and we're going to do our direct seed sowing giveaway, which happens to be Ben's favorite giveaway, shockingly enough. Giveaway closes on May 1st, 2021, and Batavia is going to let you know one of the ways to enter.
So one of the ways to enter is by going to backyardgardenstv.com and enter your email address. With this, you'll be entered into the May 1st giveaway and all future giveaways. And then for an extra entry,
head over to YouTube to the Backyard Gardens YouTube channel and watch the video Gardeners Love Spring, watch it, like it, and leave a comment telling us what your favorite thing to either grow in your garden is or your favorite thing about spring gardening. That way, we know more about you and you might win our seeds. Now on to our regularly scheduled program. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you want to see what we're up to or just stay up to date on all the announcements regarding the show or anything gardening, then you can follow us on Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV.
We love seeing what you guys are doing, so use hashtag BYG Podcast in your posts, and we'll be sharing your gardens with the Backyard Gardens community.
And check us out on YouTube at Backyard Gardens, where we will post this show, all of our other shows, clips, and then also some gardening tips and just gardening entertainment. And you can see us at our website at backyardgardenstv.com. But that's it for today's show. So help us as we learn to grow and grow for change. And until next time, we'll catch you guys later. We'll call this one a wrap.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.